So in the previous lecture, we took up this new unit operation, adsorption, and towards the end of the lecture, we said that whether it's a batch experiment or the flow experiment, the loading or the solid phase concentration must be the same as in the two cases. In other words, if we do the batch experiment and if we have this certain amount of solids in contact with a liquid with certain concentrations, then when the equilibrium is reached and we calculate how much is the loading, equilibrium loading on the solid phase, milligram per gram, and then we do this flow experiment where we have packed bed of this adsorbents, we bring in contact with the concentration level, same as what we obtain in the final concentration in case of batch experiment, and then we obtain the profile at the exit, we find the area under the curve, uptake, and then we find how much the loading milligram per gram. That concentration must be same as two cases, batch or the flow experiment. So that's the meaning of this equilibrium. It's only the time taken in two cases will be different. All it means rate will be different, time will be different, but the final concentrations in the solid phase in equilibrium with the influent concentration or the final concentration of the aqueous solutions or the solvent in the batch experiment, the two must be the same here as long as the temperature is fixed here. So we continue our discussion on that flow experiment and the batch experiments, and we will also see how do we apply in the real industrial cases what type of systems we need to have, because we must not forget that adsorption is limited by the capacity. Any adsorbents, whether zeolites, charcoals, carbon nanofibers, carbon nanotubes, they have limited capacity, how much milligram per gram. So at the end when we are doing this experiment, the bed is saturated, one has to stop it and one has to regenerate it to make it fresh. Okay, so industrially how do we do it? We will also spend some time on that before we get into the mechanism. What is the mechanism of this adsorptions? What are different steps involved in adsorptions? Before we take up the example of this batch experiment or the flow experiment. Okay, so let's continue our discussion on this adsorption. We say either we do the batch experiment or we do this flow experiment, or what do we call column experiment. We should get the same result here given this concentrations in the solutions, liquid or gas phase. What is the loading here? Milligram per gram, we denote it by Q or CS. So we have some kind of equilibrium curve which we call it isotherm. So in case of batch experiment, this would be say C final. Okay, so we started with some C initial and we have brought in contact with some solids, concentration will decrease after some time T, then this will become C final. Or if we do this flow experiment, when we have this packed bed, we bring in contact with some C, let's say same C as C final here, so this is same as C inlet, and we monitor the profile here. We have this curve response. When the bed is saturated, this level is same as this level. Right now the bed is saturated, so the two levels increases. Then we find this area under the area above this curve and we calculate milligram per gram. This data must be the same as what we obtain here. So that's the meaning of this equilibrium. Now the question is that suppose we have this flow experiment and we are bringing in contact with some gas or liquid. Now the bed has saturated, let's say after a certain time T final, then one has to stop this and one has to regenerate to make it fresh. So this is the regeneration part of it. In the batch experiment also, when we have reached the final concentration and the solid is now saturated, one has to take out the solids or remove this fluid and bring it fresh fluid to regenerate this. Okay, so we have adsorptions and then we have desorptions. Of course, it's a reversible reaction, so whenever you have adsorption, there is a reverse rate also, and when we are regenerating it, there is an adsorption rate as well. But in one case adsorption rate is larger, another case desorption rate is larger. So start with a fresh solvent till becomes fresh solid, till it becomes saturated, regenerate to make it fresh again. Okay. So industrially, how will you do it? Because we will have to stop adsorption here. So generally, typically industrially, you have two bed system. Okay. So just the introductory part here, that how will you accomplish in industries. Suppose you have the feed, so you have two beds here, you have put two valves, this is packed with their job ends, this is also packed with their job ends, W amount, you take the output from here, you can put a valve, and this is your treated feed, and this is your fresh feed. So one time this valve is closed, and entire feed goes through this. So you monitor the exit concentrations here, this concentration here. When the bed becomes saturated, one has to stop this, then close this valve, and let the feed go through this. Alright, so to make the process continuous. But when this bed is saturated, the first bed is saturated, then one has to regenerate. So maybe you will bring in some steam or some fresh fluid to regenerate this. So that time you have regenerations. And after some time, when this bed is saturated, when this bed has reached a saturation level, then you will close this, feed will come to this. Now we will start regenerating this bed. So this is the way the process is made continuous. And this type of very typical cycles, in which case you have some, say, pressurizations, or it means before you start a bed, you bring it to a desired level pressure, then you have adsorption, then after this bed is saturated, then you're going to depressurize this, and then one has to regenerate. So typically these are the 4 steps we have in a continuous cycle. We call it PSA: pressure, swing, adsorptions. So we swing the pressure between the two beds. Essentially, one bed is in operation, other bed is getting regenerated. When this bed is in operation, this bed is getting regenerated. And the cycle is traditionally it's known as a Strom cycle. So for this course, this is good enough. This type of introduction for your knowledge. We should know that how the process is continuously operated, because we said that adsorption is limited by the capacity. So at one time this bed will get saturated, one has to stop it, and one has to regenerate. So the way you will do it, you will have the two beds, one bed is in operation, other bed is getting regenerated. Alright. Now we continue with this and we get into the mechanism of this adsorptions, or we would like to know what are the different steps involved in this adsorptions. So there are two different type of adsorptions. One is called physisorption and one is called chemisorption. Again, our discussion will be very limited to the extent that we are able to address mass transfer related problems. But for your own benefit, we should understand at least the basic of these adsorptions. So when the molecules, when they get a job on the surface, alright, they have either physisorptions or chemisorptions. All it means, when we have physisorptions, there are bonds like van der Waals. You must have heard in thermodynamics, you must have come across van der Waals bonds, or you have hydrogen bonding. So these are weak bonds, or it means when the molecules are adsorbed here, then one can regenerate. Say if you heat it, reverse the conditions, these molecules can be kicked out. So because they were bonded with the surface forces by van der Waals bonding or hydrogen bondings. So that's adsorption. It's very similar to condensations. So essentially this adsorb phase, in this case they are also often known as condense phase. All it means the physical properties of the molecules which are at job here, say sulfur dioxide or water, its physical properties, the specific heat, latent heat, etc. Is very close to the condensed phase or the liquid phase. Okay, chemies options, here we have stronger than what bonding we had. Here we can have covalent bonding. So the molecules which is getting a job, now it is comes in contact with the surface molecules and they have this bonding, say covalent bonding. And if you want to regenerate, then it's possible that chemies options may be irreversible. All right. So very often if you can go through certain kinetics books, so let's say by Smith, you will see a difference between adsorption and chemies options. Adsorptions are reversible because here the bonding between the two molecules are weak, van der Waals force or hydrogen bonding. In case of chemies options, maybe they are, or mostly they are irreversible. Or if you want to regenerate the surface, then one has to have very aggressive, regenerating conditions. Okay, and when you have adsorptions, so that's one aspect of our introduction on this adsorption, the mechanism, phase option or chemies options. Another things you'd be interested and useful in our calculations is isotherm. So we talked about this, that very similar to the different equilibrium curves, like in case of absorption we have the solubility data, in case of distillations we had this y versus x data, in case of extractions we talked about LLE equilibrium phase diagram. So these are all equilibrium curves. So similarly in case of adsorptions we have very typically isotherms. So here where we plot Q milligram per gram of solid versus milligrams per liter of the liquid phase, or if with the gas phase you like to put the partial pressure of the liquid phase of the gas phase, or you can also put certain concentration here, C equal to P over RT. Alright, so given this concentration in this liquid or gas phase, how much is the loading? And there are different types of isotherms. Just like in case of absorption or distillations, we had different types of y versus x like this. All right. So similarly here we have different types of isotherms. Okay. The one most common isotherms which we should know for this course at least, it's the Langmuir isotherms. Okay. You may have some experience, or you must have come across in your kinetic class that this most common isotherms, or the most common relationship given between Q and the partial pressure in this gas phase. So the main postulates of Langmuir isotherms which we like to note down is: 1, adsorption takes place on vacant sites, or essentially what we are trying to say, that we have monolayer coverage. Alright, so it means if it is a solid surface, then there are certain sites here, active sites we talked about earlier in the previous lectures, and the molecules which gas phase or liquid phase, they will get a job only on these sites. So if some sites are already occupied with one molecule, then this molecule cannot come on this, so this has to go to different sites. So we have monolayer coverage. At the end, when entire surface is saturated, you will see, or if pictorial one can describe, then this type of layer you have. You do not have multi layers. That's not permissible in case of Langmuir isotherms or Langmuir adsorptions. That's one. Second most common postulate of Langmuir isotherm is there is no preference for adsorbing species. In other words, what we are trying to say here, that if these sites are vacant and let's say some sites are occupied like this, one species which is in the gas phase or the liquid phase, probability of this molecule going to this site is as good as going to this sites or this sites. So there is no preference for any adsorbing species for any type of sites here. And the consequence of this is that heat of adsorptions, when the molecule adsorb, there is heat of adsorptions, It could be positive or negative, could be exothermic or endothermic. All it means, it does not depend upon the extent of surface coverage. F theta is the fraction of surface coverage. Alright, so the molecule which come here, for them it's a preference. There is no preference here. Heat of adsorption is constant. So these are the main two postulates. One is a no preference for adsorbing species, and another, of course, we say it's a monolayer coverage. And based on this, one can write down the rate expressions. We have ultimately we are interested in finding a relation between Q and partial pressure, or C, right? That's isotherms here. So based on this, these two assumptions, one can show that we have the relation like this: Q or theta. So this fraction surface coverage, or Q, what we have, milligram per gram, theta would be Q over Q max, actual loading over the maximum loading. Essentially, this Q has been non-dimensionalized by Q max. So theta equal to Q over Q max. It has been shown. One can show. It's not difficult to show here. Maybe you can go through certain books on kinetics to obtain a relation as Ka Pa over 1 plus Ka over Kd into Pa. Here K is rate of adsorptions, Kd is rate of desorption, rate constant for desorption, rate constant of desorption, and we have Ka as rate constant for adsorptions. So one can make out that this relation has been obtained, assuming that if Ra is the rate of adsorptions, in 1 second how many moles get adsorbed depends upon first order kinetics like Ka, how much is the partial pressure in the gas phase or concentration in the liquid phase, and what are the sites which are vacant. So 1 minus theta. We said that that's a monolayer coverage. So if the no sites are vacant, theta equal to 1, there is no rate of adsorptions. Rate of desorption is also first order and depends upon theta. And here there is no preference for dissolving molecules. In other words, if you have situations like this, one site is vacant, one site, the other site is vacant, and we have this species which is adsorb, the probability of this species getting adsorb here is as good as probability of desorption of this species here. Of course, one molecule will see different type of forces here than this molecule. Here there is no molecule, here it's a vacant site. So we will expect that the rates should be different for this molecule than for this molecule. But Langmuir isotherms or Langmuir adsorption assumes that it just depends upon how much is the surface coverage here. It's uniform for all the sites, Kd into theta. So when you equate these two, you will get these expressions, and we have theta given as Q over Q max, and this will be equal to K Pa over 1 plus K Pa. And then we can plot this Langmuir isotherms, theta here will be 1, or we are plotting Q over Q max, and here we have this partial pressure Pa, you can also write as Ca RT. Okay, so given this partial pressure or concentrations, how much is loading here? Q, milligram per gram. Q max will be the property of the adsorbent, what adsorbent we are using here, how many maximum sites are available. So this type of information has to be given for us to do any calculations. So that's one. We said it's a Langmuir isotherm or corresponding Langmuir adsorptions. The second most common you will find is Freundlich. Freundlich isotherms, and this is more of an empirical equations where you have Q given as some constant into partial pressure over 1 over n. So this type of situation occurs when you say you are doing some experiment, batch experiments, and you have the data like Q and different concentration or partial pressure, right. So one can fit a certain line here to obtain this K and N. It's mostly empirical. This Langmuir isotherm is another extreme case, very ideal situations. And for all systems, most of the commercial or industrial systems between adsorbent and adsorbate, you have Freundlich type of equations, Q equal to K into P1 over N. One is to determine from the experiment what is the value of Q and N. If you take a log, one can show that log Q as log K plus we have 1 over N into log P. So from here also intercept and the slope, we have done this exercise before, one can obtain K and N for that type of system here. Now, so these are the two most common Langmuir and Freundlich isotherms we are going to use in our case as well. For different say liquid systems, certain dyes, certain colored, they follow this Freundlich isotherms, or certain metal ions in aqueous systems, when you bring in contact with say charcoals, they also follow this Freundlich isotherms. So these are the two most common. We are going to follow this in this course. Of course, there are several types of isotherms, which just for your knowledge, one is the BET isotherms, one is Temkin, one is Elovich. All right. Sort of interest, you can go through any books on kinetics to be familiar with different type of isotherms. All these isotherms, they give a relations between Q and a function of concentrations or the partial pressure. That's the idea of thermodynamics. Langmuir, Freundlich, Sips, BET, Temkin, Elovich. Ultimately, we like to know that given so much concentration in liquid phase or gas phase, how much is the loading? What does the thermodynamics say there? What Q will get in equilibrium? All right. Once we have this, then we can do all our calculations. All right. Now what we do, we take another topic here, which is breakthrough curves. All right. So this is another introductions. We'll skip most of the mathematical calculations to obtain these breakthrough curves. So what we are discussing here, first of course we had the batch experiment. If you recall, the most simplest experiment is a batch experiment. You take you take some fixed amount of V solutions, certain concentrations, C initial, bring in contact with adsorbent, certain amount of W, let the things get adsorbed, solute get adsorbed, you have final, you do this material balance V C initial minus C final equal to how much is the loading into W. So that we have a relation experimental data Q versus C final. So that's equilibrium. All right, and we said that the same situations, same data we can also obtain if we do the column experiment. So we take the adsorbents packed here. So let's say we have, for simplicity, spherical pellets adsorbents of diameter, let's say dp millimeter. Let's say it's a non-porous. All right. So we talked about this earlier also, that we can have non-porous adsorbent. So essentially we have all external surface area. You can also have very large porous charcoals, zeolites. So we have very large amount of area here, meter square per gram. For our simplicity, simple case, let's say that these are non-porous. So we have dp, we have S, external surface area per cubic meter volume. So what we are talking here is as, let's say, 4 pi rp square over 4 by 3 pi rp cube, where rp is the radius of the particles. So we know this dp, we know this external surface area. Let's say we have put certain W in gram or kilogram of this adsorbent. Now to begin with, adsorbents are fresh, so it does not contain any solute. We bring in contact with a continuous flow of Q, say standard liter per minute of gas or liquid per minute of certain liquid. All right, so we have the gas or the liquid passing through this at certain rate Q. No, and it's a pure Q, pure solvent. So there is no solute. All these adsorbents, they are also fresh. Then at a certain time we inject, we bring in some step input there. So bring in contact with certain impurities, say color in liquid, or certain gas in this air, sulfur dioxide, SO2, 1%, or let's say we have certain color dye in liquid, say 10 ppm. So we bring in contact with this, and now what we want to monitor is the exit. So here we are interested in knowing what will happen, what will be the response of these exit concentrations. All right. So qualitatively you should be able to make out that this response here, for a long time we will see, we want to plot T and we want to plot C exit. See, for a long time we will not see any concentrations here, because one, the fluid will take some time to reach here, that's the residence time, but even then when the fluid goes through this phase adsorbent, some solid will be getting adsorbed here. All right. Only after a long time, when the bed starts getting saturated, you will see the concentration level at the exit will start increasing, and after a long time then it will reach C exit, which will be same as C exit will be same as C inlet. Now we can say that the entire bed is saturated. So the response will be like this. This level will increase same as this inlet concentration. Now the entire bed is saturated. One can calculate experiments. So these are the data. One can calculate this area under the curve. From here we can find out how much is the loading, how much amount has been adsorbed by material balance. This also we did in the earlier class. Take this response here at a time of del T, how much is C exit, make a material balance, Q is constant, C inlet minus C exit, which is a function of time T del T. If you can integrate 0 to infinite time, we can find out how much amount has been adsorbed. So material balance, inlet minus outlet. This must be same as your capacity which you want to calculate, Q into W. With the proper units you can get also this Q as a function of this C inlet or C exit. Next time you do different concentrations, you will get different Qs. This is the way we can also generate isotherms. All right. What we are interested here is trying to understand this response. So this response is nothing but what we call breakthrough curve, which is the topic here. What are the mechanism? What are the factors which you govern to obtain certain characteristics of this outlet profile? Okay. And what we'll do this course, we will like to skip certain very rigorous mathematicals. We'll take a very simple cases here. Okay. So let's get back to this problem here. Packed bed, certain diameter of this adsorbent, certain amount. Okay. Let's say we also know how much is the number of these particles which we have put it here of each size W, so that we can calculate bed porosity. So what is the bed porosity? Total volume, say the length is L, diameter of this column is D, so V minus V of this solid, total solids, divided by V. V is nothing but L into pi by 4 ds square. Vs, total weight is W. Let's say the solid density is rho s. So this is the total volume of the solid, bulk density of this rho s solid. Then we have L pi by 4 d square. We know essentially how we have packed what is the bed porosity here. Empty spaces between the solids through which this gas flows from one direction to another direction. Okay, so here we have this Q, certain flow rates, we have certain C inlet, and we are trying to obtain this breakthrough curve, which is C exit. Okay. We are also assuming that the solids, they are non-porous, which means whatever solid gets in, whatever gas phase species, sulfur dioxide, ammonia, or they say color dye in this liquid, they get, when they reach here, they get adsorbed on the external surfaces only. Okay, there are no pores inside. So we would like to obtain how we can mathematically we can obtain this response known, if these quantities are known, flow rate, C inlet, diameter, W, etc., or the geometry of the column and the geometry of this sphere here. Of course, before that, let's do certain qualitative assessment here. What we will expect if we want to plot, say, C exit and say ratios C inlet just non-dimensionalize, so that we have 1 here. So if you have, say, certain response like this at certain conditions of Q, now let's say if we increase the flow rate, say Q1 to Q2, you should expect that the curve will go like this. The response will appear at the inlet. So we should expect this type of flow, this type of response with increasing Q. Similarly, what happens if we have a response and now we increase W, amount of this adsorbent, keeping the liquid or gas flow rate same. In that case, if you increase the W, you should expect that the response will now be delayed, because you have a lot of amount of adsorbents going to adsorb a lot, so the response of the exit concentration at the outlet will be increasing. So this is 1 here, and this would be W. So similarly, one can do a lot of exercise here if we know how to solve this set of equations which we are going to put it here. Okay. So let's start with this. What we have mechanistically, we have column like this, say one adsorbent like this, liquid goes past like this, or the gas goes past like this. So we have a sphere, solid, and the flow is like this. Corresponding to this Q, let's say the velocity is V here. We know the surface area of this, we know the weight, we know the diameter, so we know this AP, meter square or surface area over cubic meter volume. So for a sphere, this is nothing but 4 pi rp square over 4 by 3 pi rp cube. So AP is nothing but 3 over r. Right. Now when this bulk air containing this sulfur dioxide, it travels past the solid, or water containing certain ppm, certain amounts of color, dye, certain metals, lead or fluoride, arsenic, they go past the solid adsorbents like charcoal, zeolites, then there will be a mass transfer. So recall your knowledge from the first few lectures, there will be Km, film resistance, represented by, or one can qualitatively one can see what is the resistance in terms of mass transfer coefficients. So pictorially, what we are saying here, that we have a solid, say non-porous, no pores inside, and then there is a concentration profile. So we have this C, which is bulk, and then it drops, decreases because of this resistance, mass transfer resistance, given by this mass transfer coefficients, which recall should be a function of Reynolds number and Smith number. Right. So first lectures, 3-4 lectures which we address in mass transfer can again be applied here. So we have the Cp, then this is species, mole, certain molecule of sulfur dioxide. Now it reaches the solid surface. Now when it reaches, now there will be adsorptions. Solid is fresh, this molecule now will get adsorbed. Let us not worry whether it's getting adsorbed by physisorption or chemisorptions. Okay, so there's an adsorption, certain rate is there. So from the bulk, essentially certain amounts is getting lost here. There's a flux. All right, what is this flux? So this is a solid here, liquid goes or gas goes past like this. There is a mass transfer coefficients, Km. So there is a flux towards this solid surface, is nothing but Km into C here, or C bulk, you can write C bulk, minus the concentrations at the surface, C at R equal to Rp. So this is Rp. So there is a del C concentration drop across this because of this resistance. So that's a flux here. All right, and because of this flux which arrives here, now the solid is getting adsorbed. So there is a certain rate at which the concentration, solid phase concentrations Q milligram per gram of this solid increases. So from the bulk phase there is a decrease, and the solid phase there is an increase. This is how we are getting a response here. For lot of time you don't see any exit concentrations. Why? Because solids were fresh, they were adsorbing species till solids start getting saturated. The surface, now no more sites are left. So then we have the saturations, and all your exit concentration has reached inlet concentrations. So this is your physical pictorial picture representations, which we would like to represent by mathematics here. Mathematical representations. All right. Let us redraw on this column for the last time and set up the governing equations. So we have this packed bed. So what we will do, we'll set up certain governing equations, very simple governing equations. Let's see at a distance of x, so this is x here, x directions. Let's take very small thin volume, or the width, say del x. So what we are assuming here, that this is 1D, one dimensions. So concentration profile here at any location at x and c, if it's c here, c is just a function of x and time. So it's called 1D approximations or 1D model. In principle, this c concentrations should be a function of time, x, as well as r, radius. But we are assuming that this column is very thin, very small column in comparison to the length or certain operating conditions. We are assuming that c is not a function, excuse me, c is not a function of r. C is just a function of t and x. Okay. So now we are going to make a species balance. So over this del x strip, let's make a balance of moles in 1 second per cubic meter of this control volume, del V. So this del V is nothing but del x into the cross sectional area of this column. So in 1 second, in 1 cubic meter, how much moles gets in, how much mole gets out. Why there is a difference? Because there are solids here, it's getting a job here. So certain species, certain is getting lost, getting a job at this solid surface. So if you recall some species balance we have done earlier also, continuity we wrote is species balance, where we can write epsilon b, which is the bed porosity, del c by del t. So the first term is unsteady state term, then there will be convective term v del c over del x. There will be a diffusion term or dispersion term, del square c over del x square. So let's say that v is a constant. So we have a velocity profile which is like more like a plug flow. All right. In empty tube we will expect that this would be a laminar profile. It's a solid surface, so it's a very good assumption to assume that the velocity profile is a flat here. So v del c by del x, notice there is no r term here, plus or minus there should be one more term here, that's a term of source or sink. So we talked about this solid surface, there is a mass transfer coefficients, there is a drop here. So what is this term here? This is minus km flux c. So at this location, let's say concentration is c here, minus c at r equal to rp. So now we are talking of concentrations at this location, c at r equal to rp, and this c here is a bulk phase concentration. So minus km c minus crp, this is flux moles per second per meter square. We have talked about this earlier, the basic of mass transfer. So moles per second per meter square. This meter square is your external surface area, and here we are writing moles per second per cubic meter of this control volume. All right, that means multiply this by AP, surface area per cubic meter of particle volumes, and then if you multiply it by 1 minus bed porosity, you will get this term as moles per second per cubic meter of your bed volume. So going from particle volume to this bed volumes. So we can write now this full equation as epsilon b del c by del t plus v del c by del x equal to d del square c over del x square minus km ap c minus c at r equal to rp multiplied by 1 minus epsilon b. Notice it's a first order on time, so we require a condition here t equal to 0. C is C initial. Maybe it's very small fresh bed is or fresh here. It's for all x greater than 0 and less than L. So for all length, the bed is fresh. That's what it means, or with some C initial concentrations, very small concentrations. And at 0 plus, at x equal to 0, now we have C equal to C inlet. So we have brought in contact with C inlet. So as a second order, we need two conditions. One condition is x equal to 0, C equal to C inlet, and x equal to L. We require one more conditions, and generally one condition which is very common and more realistic also, del C by del x equal to 0. So we are saying that the gradient, there is no gradient at the exit. It's like this, long tube approximations, or like this, all variables, they have reached asymptotically flat here. So there is a del C by del x equal to 0, no gradient conditions, or is also known as long tube approximations. So mathematically now we can say that problem is well defined here. Concentrations, one condition for time, two conditions for x. However, you notice that we do not know C equal to R at Rp. So we have a solid surface. What is the concentrations? Right here at R equal to Rp in the bulk phase, in the liquid or the gas phase. So this one equation 1 and equation 2, that means now we are talking of this solid phase concentrations, del Cs over del T. The C is moles per cubic meter of gas or liquid. Here we are talking of del Cs, moles, or this could be gram, just like here could be gram, per meter square of solid phase. So now we are making a balance on this solid phase, because certain species now are getting adsorbed. So whatever flux gets into this, that's same as del Cs by del T is now Km C minus C at R equal to Rp. So it's a moles per second per meter square, and this will also be equal to some rate of adsorptions minus rate of desorptions. Okay, so we were talking about all those isotherms, Lyman isotherms, Freundlich isotherms, etc. We have this type of situations. The most common would be for rate of adsorptions, say first order adsorptions, and we have first order desorptions. This would be the most simplest of this. Alright. So going back to this first equations, we can write epsilon b del C by del T plus V del C by del X equal to, you have this dispersion term or diffusion term, and here you have the flux. Now that flux is nothing but at what rate solid phase concentration changes. Notice this is a flux we had equated to the flux as well as to this rate of adsorption and desorptions. So the only thing here is that what is this del Cs by del T? What is the best way? The one most simplest model which is used is quasi steady state, where we say that change in the surface concentrations is proportional to this gas phase or liquid phase concentrations. So this is equal to del C by del T into dCs by dC. So this is an approximations here. Otherwise one will have to solve with the previous expression which we wrote, but the one best common simplest assumption would be that del Cs by del T, rate of change of the solid phase concentrations, equals gas phase or liquid phase concentrations multiplied by dCs over dC. So mathematically notice this term dCs by dC is nothing but slope of this isotherms. So this is equal to m. Alright. So now we can write our equations epsilon b over del c by del t plus v del c over del x equal to d del square c over del x square minus ap into m del c by del t. So now notice we have just one variable c everywhere. That means we can write del c by del t epsilon b plus ap into m plus v del c over del x equal to d del square c over del x square, and those conditions remain same as what we had earlier for time and for x. We can box this is the governing equations. If we solve numerically or analytically, mind you there are some analytical solutions are available for this type of partial differential equations. If we solve, now we will get an expression for t, c in terms of t and x. So this can be solved here. Essentially when we have these expressions, we can have c, t and l, and we can plot or we can predict, given this t, c exit concentrations, which is nothing but c t at l, like this. That will be our response curve for different conditions for varying x and y. Alright, so the species adsorb on the solid. So that was second part. Then we got into this mechanism aspect, that adsorptions could be physisorptions, could be chemisorptions. Both sites are equivalent. Okay, so we have one heat of adsorptions, first order adsorptions, first order desorptions. So we have certain expressions. Mathematically one can obtain the expressions in terms of the loading and the concentrations. And we said that we can also have very common Freundlich type of isotherms, which is very common and we are going to use in this course. So idea is that our experimental data has to be correlated by certain equations, mathematical representations, which is like Langmuir isotherms or Freundlich isotherms or different types of isotherms which have been reported. We didn't get into details. Out of your interest, you can go into some textbook on kinetics, let's say by Smith, etc., to get a feel of it. And the last part of today's lecture was mathematical representation of this breakthrough profiles, which means if you have a column and column geometry is known to us, length and diameter, we have packed it with certain adsorbents. We know the property of the adsorbents, how much amount, what is the size, what is the bulk density, we can get the bed porosity, etc. We will like to mathematically predict what is this column experiment, what is the column response, okay, because you will have certain experimental data which has to be fitted by this response here, C versus T. And to do this, one has to write down certain conservation equations, species balance, which we have done earlier also. So the one simplest or approximated model would be 1D model, in which we neglect the concentration profiles in the radial directions. So we take a balance over del x, we write down the species balance, material in, material out, at what rate material is getting adsorbed here. So we had one equation for the bulk phase, one equation for the solid phase. For the solid phase, again we made some approximations of quasi steady state. We said that the rate at which concentration change in the gas phase, the same rate or same proportion rate we have the change in the surface phase. Based on that, we approximated the two equations with just one equation. We brought the slope of the isotherms m, which we know from our thermodynamic experiment, thermodynamic data. Then we can say that mathematically now we can solve these equations with the given initial conditions and with the conditions on x. Alright. From this, if you can solve by say some certain mathematical softwares like say MathCAD or say certain Fortran NAG libraries or C libraries, one can solve these partial differential equations. In the literature, it has been solved analytically also. So we do have analytical solutions for 1D model, in which you have time dependence and x dependence. So that solution is also available too, so that we can predict your response in a column experiments. That's a very simple for non-porous. The problem becomes more complicated when you have a porous materials. In that case, now you have adsorbents which have very large pores inside. And then you can imagine that now earlier we wrote two equations, one for the bulk phase, one for the solid, external solid. Now we'll also have to write a balance for inside the pores. So things become quite complicated for this course, third year level course, mass transfer. We skip the mathematical detail part of it, just out of your knowledge that now we have to write down one more species balance inside the solids, and one is to solve the set of partial differential equations. Generally one makes some approximation, again very well known approximation is LDF, linear driving force approximations. So just note down this approximation here. When we have this porous adsorbents, so now we are saying that there are pores. We talked of say activated charcoals, very large pores inside. Surface area is some meters square per gram, of the order of say even 3000 meters square per gram. Zeolites maybe like 100 meters square per gram. So essentially these are the pores, these are the conduits. Okay, so in this case one has to also write down the species balance inside, and that you can imagine this would be another complexity here, say del Cp by del T. So now we are writing of Cp moles per cubic meter of solid phase. Remember first we had C moles per cubic meter of gas or the liquid phase, bulk phase. Then we said that there is C at R equal to Rp, solid external phase. Now we are talking of Cp, which is inside this pores here. So inside of course there is no convections, we have just pure diffusion. You have spherical geometries. If you have spherical beads here, R square del Cp over del R. So that's one model for this. So now one has to solve all these three equations together. Now we have these pores, the Cp inside, species now again adsorb and dissolve. You have certain rate here, del Cs by del T will be equal to Ka Cp, for example, first order adsorptions and second order desorptions. So things are quite getting complex here mathematically. One approximation very often is made is linear driving force approximations, or LDF approximations. So based on these approximations one can still solve for C as a function of T and R in a column here. So we will have a backbed column. Essentially one can predict this C at what time and at what length. Alright. So the idea of all this mathematical treatment is that we can predict C exit over C in for different time, for different conditions, for varying flow rates or varying amount of D or varying particle size, etc. One can do this kind of model predictions and see how one can fit the data here, experimental data. Alright. So we have in today's lecture we had some mathematical approximations for or mathematical treatment for flow in a packed bed of porous as well as non-porous, okay, adsorbents. In general, of course, most of the adsorbents are porous, very large BT areas, so that it has a very large capacity. Okay, but mathematical treatment is quite aggressive. We said that we are going to make a lot of approximations here. One very simple approximation is that when we assume that the flow is ideal, no dispersions. So that type of mathematical treatment we are going to address in the next lecture. How do we get a very good estimate or approximate estimate of this response curve, so that we can find out how long will it take for a solid to get saturated. So at least this we should be able to address. Then we will take up the examples of this thermodynamic and the operating line, the way we have the treatment for the extractions, where we bring two liquids in contact. Here we bring the liquid in contact with the solid. We'll find out how many stages we require to achieve certain degree of separations, or how much is the amount of adsorbents is required in a packed bed column. So here also we have the same situations. We can have a stage wise adsorptions, or we can have this packed bed columns. So stage wise, one we have uniform mix like a CSTR in kinetics we have done. You take the solvent, bring in contact with the solids, bed gets saturated, take out that solvent, bring it to the fresh solvent, into the next stage. Or we can have a packed column, put all those three in a continuous, and then we have a continuous flow of this. So that's more like industrial applications where you have wastewater which we want to treat, or you have the gaseous effluent which you want to treat. So you have a continuous column process instead of stage wise, which generally if you have say pharmaceutical industries where they have handled very small amount or batch amount, so there we do that type of experiment, or you do that type of testing there. Okay, so the next lecture when we meet, we take up our topics on batch adsorber and the continuous adsorber.